Welcome everyone to the Pommy and Oz channel. If you are new around here, hit the like, hit the subscribe. Really does help the channel out. Thank you very much. We just hit 5,500, so that is an absolute huge achievement. So thank you if you're one of the 5,500. Welcome to you. You can go a step further, become a member of the channel. Do lots of fun stuff over there. We've got some exclusive draft content upcoming, some members' lives, all that wonderful malarkey. And we're here today to talk about my Blue Boys in a do-or-die battle versus St Kilda up at the Marvel Stadium on the Sunday at the lovely time slot of 3:20. And this is a big game, 8th versus 13th of two sides that were meant to be in the aim many thought would kick on after last year's great performance. And it's two sides at the polar ends of the form table. St Kilda going into this game with 4 wins and the 1 loss against Brisbane Lions, and the Blues going in with 2 wins against Low, North and Eagles, with 3 losses wedged in between. And everything is on the line in this game. The baby Blues are back, baby. Big win last week against the Eagles, and the Blues are playing a very much changed side. We only expect 2 changes this week. Charlie Curnow looks to get up, and Adam Saad does, but there's a few question marks over Mitch McGovern, who played last week. Corey Durdney was sensational in that second quarter, and this is everything on the line. The Blues have got to go full pedal to the metal. I don't want to hear any talk of, Port will beat Fremantle. That's not the way you play this game. You can't be relying on results and can't be looking elsewhere. For me, that shows a very weak-minded club. We've got to go in here and go, right, 4 points. And like we say, 8th versus 12th. Blues have got it all to do. They've got to go into this game and be like, okay, we've got this win. We've got this win. We are more than good enough to beat this side. And this is going to be one of them games where you've got 13th on the ladder, St Kilda. They are anti-football, and I mean that with the most positive way, but they can really make it dirty and make it hard. And when you look at the Blues, that is something that they really struggle with. And what we saw last week, albeit against babies, was their ability to spread. Carlton can win the ball, and that's been a big part of their stoppage issues this year. Everyone gets condensed, the corridor gets flooded, there's no space to run into, there's no space to run an overlap, there's no way to spread the ball into key areas. Carlton's contested possessions just go through the roof, and it goes all stagnant, and that is a real big thing here that the Blues have got to avoid. And let's look at these numbers, and we start off here. This is where it all really comes off, and the Blues, 12th scores from stoppage, versus 14th, 29 plays 32. I've never really cared about this because I always say you want to break even from stoppage. It's your turnover and your defensive half that we really want strong, particularly your forward half if you can. And we've really seen this area really drop off in scores against. Carlton, the 11th best side versus the 2nd best defensive side. And this is something over the last 5 we've really seen from St Kilda in the last 5 weeks. They have really, really used their 1-1s. They've used Steele incredibly well. They're really breaking sides down. They play them extras around there. They basically play to what they do. And for a team that has a different makeup to Carlton, they kind of show Carlton how to do it. And this is going to be a real key battleground here for the Blues. The Blues have got to make sure that their stoppage game is on point, and they've got to try and break these lines from St Kilda. We saw last week some wonderful blocking from Cripps for Hewitt and Hewitt for Elijah and Cooper Lord. Cooper Lord really does like stopping that extra run inside the midfield into the stoppage areas. This is key, and it's also key that we see Chincotta play as that quarterback role. He was really helping Carlton's defence last week. It's either a bold position or it's a defensive position, and I like Chincotta's run from there. So this is a key area because you can see 12th best differential versus 7th, and this is a real good building block. Always say if you can break even from here and be in a positive, if the rest of your game is good, who cares? And you look here, this was a number that we talked about with Carlton. Carlton were 2nd and 1st for turnover 4. They're now 12th. And St Kilda's makeup is totally fantastic. I am happy if I'm St Kilda to be 14 from stoppage. The 2nd best defence means you're always a positive, you're always a goal positive. but you're killing them on turnover because as teams try and get extra out of the stoppage, you're going to hurt them out the back. And that is where Carlton have really stagnated up until this week where they were pretty good from it. The Blues have got to really go back to what they know, and that is what we saw last week. Short, sharp ball movement, looking to get the game moving forward with lots of pressure, which then creates the space in behind, particularly when Carlton are strong forward half pressure and defensive half pressure. It creates space as teams react to that pressure and help their mates out. And turnover defence, you're looking at the second, you're looking at the 9th best turnover side versus the 8th, 45 points against versus 46. This is all because of the flood, where last 8 weeks ago, you really saw Carlton strong in this turnover against because they were putting the pressure on early, forcing the turnover early, and being able to slingshot off the back half. Now they're just flooding them areas, so it really makes it hard to score from it because you're always in contest. And the turnover differential, the 4th best side, St Kilda, versus the 9th. The Blues have got to look at this area. It is incredibly important that they get this ASAP Rocky fixed. If they don't, they're in a world of hurt, particularly against St Kilda. And then we come to the next part, and that is the defensive half. And the Blues here are going from the 2nd best side to the 18th. That condensed midfield has taken away their options. They have struggled from this, and here against the best side. This is coming down here that the Blues forward half pressure has to be exemplary. We can't allow them to have time on the ball. That's what St Kilda have done really well. Finding them uncontested possessions out the back half of the ground, putting good pressure on the midfield, forcing teams to go early. Carlton, that forward half pressure is just allowing teams to overlap and create overloads in the midfield, which is creating so much density in that forward half, in the back half of the ground for the Blues and in the midfield. 22 points is really, really dire. We're looking at like 2018 Carlton here. They've got to be bold. They've got to be industrious. They've got to take the game on. And the defensive half against Carlton, 7th best defending side versus the 11th. They're still doing pretty well at stopping the scores. The problem is it's because they condense the midfield. So if teams start to go long, they do help themselves out. They've got to go back to that forward pressure, which we saw last week with 20 tackles. 4th best differential versus the 15th. This is a key area here. The Blues forward pressure has to be on point. It has to stop St Kilda bringing the ball out of the back half of the ground. And for the Blues, they've got to be industrious. The mandate here for St Kilda is simple. Tackle, tackle, tackle inside 50. It will eventually fall off and put pressure around stoppage. Starve Carlton of easy ball, make them handball to contest. You'll get them to turn it over. Forward half generation has really plumped up, and that's because they were plus 50 this week from forward half generation. This is all from one game. This is where it needs to be all the time, though. Carlton's ability to turn the ball over in the forward half of the ground is their biggest asset because that is the personnel that they've got. They need to make sure that this area, particularly against the defensive half scores of St Kilda, is so strong. And 45.4 playing 15.36.8 is incredibly a key battleground. This is going to be really entertaining because St Kilda's massive gulf of outside run puts the pressure on teams. So they set traps in the midfield. They're not so bothered about you getting it out the back half of the ground. It's that next kick from your D50 out that they put a lot of pressure on. The Blues have got to be up for it. They've got to try and run and stun, get through that first wave, forcing that second wave to come onto you. And that is where Carlton play their best football. Generation against Carlton, the 12th best defence versus the 5th. You can see they resist forward half generation pretty well, though St Kilda. Although they don't score for it themselves, their defence is very astute. The Blues is in that middle table position. That's a lot of points coming against as well, 48 versus 29.8. The Blues have got to make sure, like we say, they're up for the challenge. They're taking on the forwards in their back half of the ground. And you can see 8 versus 6. So from all of Carlton's strength in forward half score generation, their weakness defending it has been an issue. And this is going to be an area that St Kilda will really look to exploit. Centre bounce, this is, in my opinion, this is criminal for both sides. Albeit, I'll forgive St Kilda because Max King's been out for a while. Carlton, even though they've played one game without Harry and Charlie in this 5-week block, To be 8th for scores from centre bounce is appalling. This needs to be in the top 4. 666 is the Carlton rule. And this shows the problems around stoppage. Too much handball, too much putting yourself in pressure, too much indecision making. They've got to take the game on like they did last week. And defensively, Carlton have really tried to take away their ability to be dangerous offensively and be a little bit more defensive around stoppage and centre clearance. And this is what happens. Carlton, the 14th best side at defending centre clearance versus the 3rd. And if you've got danger in that centre clearance and you're looking to exit and score launch early, that actually helps your defence because teams react to it. Teams have been able to impact Carlton stoppage and centre clearance by just playing offensive from it. Putting the tap in front of your man, everyone loads goal side, Carlton forward. And this is really important that they go side of centre clearance and stoppage. They flood it. Give them something to worry about. There's way too much reaction from Carlton everywhere in the fan base, in the team, the way they play, on personnel of the opposition. Their midfield is up there with the best midfielders in the competition. They need to be bold and ostentatious in this area. This is a key battleground here. We know Jack Steele loves playing Crips. They've had some great battles. This is going to be a real key battle here. And pressure acts 4. When you've got a good system like St Kilda have, you don't really have to apply too much pressure all around the ground to make teams fold. We've deduced their defensive half pressure forces forwards to react quickly, and their forward half pressure, their mid half pressure really forces midfielders to kick long. And that is the benefit of this. Carlton have got to really try and find that strategy because the pressure acts against the 3rd least because they find uncontested possessions. Carlton in that real cluster of 12 because they don't spread. And that has been a big component in the last 5, hence why Carlton have the 12th best pressure differential versus the 7th. The Blues have got to find that spread again. And then we go into the tackles. The 7th best tackling side versus the 14. We've talked about implied pressure and where you put pressure is so important. And the Blues are playing a real high maintenance game style over the last 5 weeks. And that is a problem. A lot of running, a lot of chasing, a lot to go on. And you look at the tackles against, you can see what I mean by high maintenance game styles. The 3rd most tackled side versus the 1st least. Their ability to spread is incredible, St Kilda's. They win the ball back, they get it out wide. Carlton have got the personnel. Last week we played 3 natural wingers, Akers, Hollands and Bins, and you saw the spread, people willing not to be drawn into the contest. And this is where Carlton have gone wrong the last 5 weeks. They get drawn, they get suckered into helping their pals out. And that's either distrust of winning the ball or panic because you're losing. The great teams, and something that Ross really instills in St Kilda, is we don't come and help out, we back our boys to win it. And the tackle differential there, 3rd versus 14th, you can see why St Kilda have had the results they had, and you can see why Carlton have had the results they've had. This is a really important thing for the Blues to really make sure that they get it on top of. 13th tackles inside 50 versus 8th. This is an area for the Blues that has really dropped off, and it's caused slingshot issues all around the ground because they're not putting pressure on early. When Carlton don't put the pressure on early, it allows teams just to move out the back half of the ground, spread them, destroy our zones. And it's a real area here where the Blues have got to make sure that at the fall of the ball, the Blues are at their best. And you look here, tackles inside 50 against the least tackled inside 50. Because of that spread St Kilda have, they get really easy entries inside 50 because they've generally got the overload there. They overload in numbers. And the Blues have retracted that a little bit. They've committed less men in front of the ball, which has made them kick long. This is a real key battleground for the Blues. The Blues have got to make sure they're putting them inside 50 tackles on big style. And the territory forward, you can see the good teams here. We're seeing a real shift here. The number 1 territory against defending side versus the 8th. But you look at the territory 4, the good sides are starting to slow down their amount of disposals per meters per disposals. And there's a reason for that. It's harder to make mistakes. It's harder to turn the ball over. But you're seeing teams, when they are in trouble, they're trying to kick the ball long and put some pressure on it. And this is where Carlton have got lost in transit. They're trying to be a good ball-using side, but they've got the makeup of the side that's kick-chase. So it's really interesting here that the Blues have lost their identity in the last 5 weeks. The territory battle is going to be so key here because the Carlton's defensive territory, teams are starting to kick over the top of them as they get condensed. So this is a key area here that Carlton spread their defensive zones and make sure they're strong. And then we look at the marks inside 50 rate. 20.7% versus 35.4%. Again, their ability to overload these areas means that they always have an extra inside 50 where the Blues are starting to kick to one-on-ones, make it a little bit harder for themselves. Teams have been able to overload against as the work rate becomes an issue. And this is a big area here. The Blues last week worked hard, which created them opportunities. And the marks inside 50 rate, you're looking at the 5th best defending side. Because they can work two ways, St Kilda, the Blues have become a bit flat-footed and start becoming stagnant and flooding them areas, and teams pick them off with the short kicks. This is a big concern for the Blues. The Blues going to 15 for goals per inside 50 when they were second, playing the 3rd best side in the last 5 weeks. And this is an area here again, back to the Carlton's work rate, back and front, being able to create them out numbers inside 50, running in clusters. It creates this long bomb when they sit back, and it makes it so easy to defend. And you can see Carlton's defence against goals matches what we're saying. 4th best defence versus goals per inside 50 because they flood it. It's a warped stat. 11 from there is a lot more natural numbers. 3rd and 11th, for and against versus 15th and 4th. That paints the picture. 15th and 4th for goals for and against suggests you're a bottom 5 side. Means you're clinging on. You're kicking long and you're kicking to chance. St Kilda's looks a lot more methodical. That is what we'd expect to see from a side that is in the form that they are. The Blues have got to book that trend ASAP because they've only got one game to do it. Scores per inside 50, and again, same story. 5th for, 5th against for St Kilda. The Blues, 4th defence, 12-4. Again, a lot of kicks to nothing, a lot of kicks and hopes. They've got to go back to that running clusters, creating them overloads in them key areas, particularly the final third. When Carlton do that, everything looks good because that means they've got numbers to defend inside forward 50. They've got ability to kick long, bring the ball to ground and play their smalls in. This is going to be a key area, particularly with only one tall scheduled to play in Charlie Kerner with Brodie Kemp. And that's what Brodie Kemp did really well last week, his ability to lead. Rebound 50 rate, though, the Blues still strong in this. Their ability to rebound opposition inside 50 is still high. Does help that we're getting a lot against at the minute, but that is a real strong asset, and it doesn't explain why our defensive half scores are so low. The Blues are managing to rebound, but it's panic rebounds because they've overloaded the defensive half. There's no one to kick to. There isn't that overload in the midfield. And you can see here the 14th best side at defending against rebound 50 versus the 5th best. The pressure from Carlton just showing there, not putting enough pressure in the opposition's back half the ground, making it very easy for them to spread. Intercept marks 13th versus 11th. This is more personnel based, but the Blues, because it's so condensed in the defence, it's like our stoppage. There isn't the areas of space to run into because there's people there. It's too congested. And the intercept marks against, again, this is probably quite a shock. The Blues 15th versus 11th, which is quite a surprise that the Blues haven't. But what teams have done is they brought it to ground to kick Carlton over the top. They've learned with pace, Carlton can't adjust enough to get defensively, and teams are too flat-footed. So this is an interesting thing. They won because Carlton commits so many people behind the ball in the last 5 weeks. It's been very easy to play the game quickly because you can catch them out. If Carlton are allowed to set up, it's a wall. And 12th versus 11th one-on-one defence, you'd expect this to fall down with the amount of inside 50s Carlton are faced against. These are the areas that really do fascinate me. Carlton's contested possessions have gone through the roof recently. And they're not looking to spread. It goes back to everything is condensed. And this is where they've got to be clever against St Kilda. They don't want to fall for the trap. They don't want to fall for committing men in and allowing them to spread. They want to be disciplined and back that Hewitt and Cripps can go up against their midfield with the players floating. They should do. On paper, they should do. And this is going to be a key area. Ross here really needs to go into this game if he's St Kilda coach and say, make them ask the question very early. do they want to match up on us? And you can see here, Carlton, one of the sixth best defending, because teams are just not having contested possessions against them. Where you look at St Kilda, teams have been made to play the spread against St Kilda, which is helping them out because contested-wise, they haven't played some top sides in contested. Carlton have, and Carlton really aren't looking at that spread when they've got so many wingers. And you look here, what I said about short kicks, short ball use makes it hard to be turned over against. 15.1, the average disposal yardage, meterage for St Kilda versus 16th for the Blues, meaning they're running and stunning a lot more than the Blues. The Blues are playing a very archaic, slow, stodgy game style at the moment where they're looking to kick to mark. I know we love the 1980s and 1990s. That game style belongs there, though. The Blues have got to go to bring the ball to ground if they are going long and overload them numbers, not looking for short areas. And then you look against teams mirror genuinely, and the Blues here have really fallen into the opposition game plan. When you look at these numbers, always look against and what the results were, because that's a good indication of who dictated what. And you can see here St Kilda have dictated teams to play their way, where the Carlton have really reacted to that pressure and really started to kick long. And teams are kicking over us or running over us because of that condensation. And it doesn't make happy reading for the score prediction. The algorithm predicting a 99 versus 75 win for St Kilda. The Blues have got to make that work. So that is the preview. Can it be done? Of course it can be. The Blues playing their best. You go back to the 5 weeks before. That score prediction is Carlton winning by 18. So the Blues have got to go back to what they know. And what better time to do it? The last game of the season, needing to win to play finals, to build some momentum into the final series. Hugely important for the Blues. This game is a must-win game. It's a can-win game. And it's all on the line. And these boys are more than capable of bucking the trend. They bucked the trend before to get to the top of the ladder. They bucked the trend to go near down the bottom of the ladder. They can buck it again to go back. I'm backing them in. Big game, big names. Can't wait to do this one live. Peace, love and light. Pom out.
I see her rolling up, Uber black Cadillac, high heel boots and a sexy body full of tats. Baby's bad, oh baby's hella